Guys, showtime.
Showtime's on hold? Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm just joshing you.
Fight Nation on Sirius XM.
It's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Go. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. We rollin'!
Covering MMA from all over the world, this is the premier stop for all your combat sports needs. MMA Junkie Radio, the only show broadcasting live from the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights are on and the mics are hot. It's time to get your MMA fix, junkies. Take it away, Big John.
Gorgeous George and Goes, are you ready? Junkie Nation, are you ready? Well, let's get it on.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Race and Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes. Our ace co-host to my left, it's the fight analyst, Dan Tom. Back east producing, Jael. What's up, everybody?
What's up?
What's going on?
That fool still doesn't have a nickname?
Jael? I guess not.
Man, everybody over there starts with a J.
You want to give him one?
Jael?
Just Jael?
Just Jael? Nah. Then I feel like we're disrespecting him.
We'll have to come up with
Jovial
one.
Jael?
We still need one for Kelly. We're not going to go with Smelly Kelly. And Classy Kelly's the front runner. Mm-hmm. She's Gabulous is Gabby's. And yeah, we'll have to work on that a little bit.
Not Jovial Jael?
No.
There's too much going on. Huh?
No, Jovial, Jael, no. But we'll come up with one.
All
right, folks. It is winding down Fight Week. International Fight Week. The biggest week of the year in mixed martial arts. No disrespect to the other organizations, but the UFC really does come strong on Fight Week. That, along with the World MMA Awards being in town, has just brought a lot of celebrity into Sin City. So, when we have an opportunity, we'll discuss a little bit. I got a chance to go to the World MMA Awards, so I'll chime in on that. The 11th annual World MMA Awards went down really quick. Thank you to all of you that voted for us. It wasn't enough. We weren't able to take down Best Media Source. And our colleague, John Morgan, unfortunately, was not able to take down Best Journalist. But regardless, thank you all for voting. Whoever voted for us.
Next year.
Exactly. Now, proceeding from there, we have the Hall of Fame ceremony tonight. Now, in the rearview mirrors this morning, we had fighters that weighed in. Not only did they do their real weigh-ins in the morning, but they also did. They also had a seasonal press conference, and then they did the ceremonial weigh-ins not too long ago. And everybody was on weight, so good to go. Now remember, 4 fighters had to go an extra pound because when there's title fights involved, you got to get to the exact limit. Otherwise, you get 1 pound allowance, for the rest of the people. So, for example, bantamweights that fight at 135. If there was a title fight, it's got to be at 135. If it's not a title fight, then you get to 136. And trust me, those fighters will tell you it makes a difference. Now, tomorrow is UFC 239. So, a couple quick reminders: we will be doing a sportscaster, a watch along on sportscaster for UFC 239. So check it out with us. It's easy. www.sportscaster.com/MMA Junkie. We will be watching the fights along with you guys. That's why we call it a watch along. If you didn't order it, then guess what? You get to kind of hear it. Watching it, we'll be talking about it and look at ourselves that way. We just kind of look at an upgraded version.
Upgraded version of those two idiots.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun, and we will give away a bobblehead. And, hey, the fight's lost Gracie, and I'll do an introduction for her in just a second. Alyse Anderson, Invicta FC Atomweight. She will be joining us, as will Jens Pulver, former UFC lightweight champion. Their manager, Brian Butler from Sucker Punch Entertainment, he'll come on for a bit. We'll also get a visit from Cody Stamann, UFC bantamweight, as well as another agent, Abe Kawa, younger brother, I believe, to Malky Kawa. And those guys oversee John Jones, Jorge Masvidal, Tyron Woodley. They have quite the stable there. Speaking of Jorge Masvidal, he's coming along as well. He wanted to come by the studio, which I was shocked because usually once the fighters weigh in, that's it. They just hole themselves up in a hotel room, and that's it. All right, so let's start off with our first guest, Rose Gracie. I just met her a few days ago at the World MMA Awards. So nice to see you again, Rose. This is my younger brother, Brian. We call him Goes on the show. Goes sounds like Rose. And this is Dan Tom.
Hi, Dan.
You can just call him Dan. Really, it's really nice to meet you and have you here in studio.
Thank you. The pleasure's all mine.
Apparently, I just caught you because you were getting ready to head back to Southern California. So she
I
postponed her trip for a couple hours so she could come in here and we're going to talk about an important topic. But I did want to tell you, I wanted to save it for the show. I was going to tell you the other night, but I was like, no, I'm going to save it for the show.
Oh, these are the best ones. I can't wait.
We had the honor of meeting your grandfather.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where at?
It was after UFC 206 in Los Angeles at Staples Center.
No,
not my
60.
Sorry. Oh, yeah. UFC 60 in 2006.
Okay.
And Hoyler was, kind of very protective of him. And so we had told him we wanted to meet Mr. Helio Gracie. We felt like it was like meeting Bruce Lee because the impact he's had in martial arts, mixed martial arts, that's what it felt like to us, And so we asked him, and he goes, okay, how about after the show? And, he said over here because, he didn't want to create like a big scene. Mm-hmm. I think he was probably just kind of shooing us away a little bit. Hoyler, not your grandfather. But so we kind of waited. We were patient. We were respectful. And then I think your grandfather was with some other people. And then it looked like they were getting ready to leave. I go, this is our chance. So I went to him. I go, hey, you said to hit you up once the chaos died down a little bit. He goes, yeah, come on. And then we ducked in there. Remember, he was already
he was sitting in it was like a Suburban.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to take turns, and we got in.
Yeah. He just kind of leaned
out.
You
got the pictures.
We got the picture. It was so cool. It's one of my best memories ever. We were just fans then. We weren't even doing the show.
That's
so
very
we were
cool.
fanboying out, and it was really, really an honor, because to us it's like touching, shaking his hand and part of the history of what eventually got us here. And now looking back, but even as fans, it was a big moment for us.
Yeah, for sure. I love those moments with my grandpa. And I would completely not even be thinking about it. Like sometimes I would walk into the gym and then I'd be like, hi, Grandpa. And I'm walking in with a bunch of people and people just stall like, oh, my God, it's your grandfather. I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, here we go. Nice meeting you and introducing and the whole thing. But he was a phenomenal human being.
Yeah.
He
it's
was
really
totally
cool
with everything.
See him here, on your Twitter handle at Rose Gracie. So
I don't even use Twitter. Do I still have that?
You do. Yeah.
Wait a minute. You just tweeted MMA Junkie Radio is my favorite show.
Yeah, I never even used that.
No?
When was the last post I had in there?
July 3rd.
There's got to be something then that's probably attached to Instagram somehow or Facebook.
Perhaps.
Yeah, because I don't even go there.
And folks, follow along with us here on concussionfoundation.org as we talk. Now, we only have a limited amount of time, but I wanted to talk about that in an article I read on The Athletic by Josh Gross talking about raising awareness for CTE.
Yes.
And I wanted you to come in and talk about that with us.
Yeah, it's becoming it's almost like I pulled a curtain out on this subject at this point because of my friends that grew up with me. I grew up obviously around the sport. People that were training 20 years ago were my friends and best friends, and now they're trainers and whatnot. And I started seeing some of the symptoms actually a while back, and I just didn't put two and two together what was going on and how big of a situation was, of a problem it was, until now that I started connecting all the dots from my past to understanding what's happening and to see, because it became almost something like normal. Like, a fighter forgets things or makes no sense when they're talking about something. And then you're just like, oh my God, he gets punched in the head for a living. Let me handle this. Let me do
Right.
this. And when you see it, that you can see some guys that you follow throughout the times you've been around the sport for a long time. You're going to see some of them kind of slowly coming down, just weird things that they say and do and behaviors that you're just like, what's going on?
Right.
Then I started seeing the symptoms, and it wasn't until someone told me, have you watched that movie Concussion with Will Smith?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yes.
yeah. And, I hadn't. So I watched the movie, and then I looked up CTE on a TED Talk, and Chris Nowinski popped up, which is the head of the Concussion Foundation out of the University of Boston. And I watched his TED Talk, and I sent him a long, heartfelt message about what I was going through my personal life and dealing with people that have had, some behavior issues, depression, anxiety, and, attempted suicides. And all these things were just kind of common around. And it's not a normal thing. So I understood now that it was after 20. CTE only develops after 20 years of impacts, either a concussion or subconcussive impact. So a lot of people don't understand that even if you hit to the body, you can actually have a concussion in your brain. So what happens is your brain is like jello, right? And you know how they have a fight and sometimes they torn a ligament, they will tear something. If it's something you can see, there's a cut, they'll send them to the hospital. We're going to fix that cut, or we're going to fix that ligament, or you broke something, we'll
Right.
fix that. But nobody's checking the brain. They'll check the brain before the fight, but not after the fight. So you're getting hit to the head, but you're not getting anything checked afterwards, which is very concerning. But your brain is like jello. So when you get hit, and obviously there's the layers to protect it, but when you get hit, the jello basically moves, and when it moves, it stretches, and then the axons and neurons, they basically break. It's like kind of like little veins, right? And they will break, and then with time, they start releasing a protein in your brain called tau protein, and that protein is like pouring cement into a sink. It just starts freezing everything up in there, and it stops the communication between the right and the left side of your brain, and it just messes up the whole communication. That's why these symptoms are so vivid for them, and they have a hard time understanding. As I go deeper into the subject, I understand they don't know, they can't understand what's going on with them. They don't understand what's wrong with them. So they treat them for depression. And, treatment for depression is a joke. You give them medicine to hide symptoms. You're not curing the problem with the depression. You're just hiding symptoms. And then they give them something else on top of it. So now you have these retired fighters taking a bazillion of medications for depression, anxiety, and sometimes they are going to endocrinologists because they took a lot of stuff back, especially Pride fighters and all these guys from the old times. They took a lot of stuff, supplements that now they need a lot of help with, with the testosterone levels. So everything is really messy. And there's not one place for them to actually go to be treated and to be looked out for, or there's nobody even talking about it, and it's a problem. The advantage that we have with MMA, which I wouldn't say it's an advantage in any point, in any way, but it's what is different between MMA and all the other sports is because it takes 20 years of repetitive hits for this thing to develop. For you to say, okay, this guy has CTE, and you can't diagnose why the person is alive. The problem is and the solution is that with other sports like NFL or football, where you call the soccer in Brazil and all those things, these guys are usually retired and long gone when these symptoms start popping up. With MMA, it has been very different because these guys started training martial arts at a very young age, and they usually have a wrestling background, and they already have many years of training before they actually stepped into doing MMA, right? So the symptoms are popping up as they're either coming out of it or still kind of fairly known. So I think it will bring a lot more attention to the disease right now, for the simple fact that the guys that are hitting big time CTE right now are guys that were only fighting 20 years ago. So Pride Day fighters. So these guys are still, some of them are still fighting to this day, right? You have Vitor Belfort fighting this day, and he fought Pride. You have guys that fought Pride. Now they're popping up with, with symptoms. And I feel like I see sometimes, and I can't say it's diagnosed CTE for sure, but I can see some of the symptoms with the guys that are actually fighting right now. And you can see already some guys that you think, oh, this guy's a little punchy, or this is happening. So these are all symptoms that are very scary. So it's emotional, physical, mental, and cognitive symptoms that they're dealing with.
That's the hardest part for me. And part of it has to do with the way we live our lives now, with things like this and this. There are times where him and I forget stuff. And so when you talk to a fighter that you've been familiar with, you can kind of get that feeling, but there's a part of us that would always go, I forget stuff too.
Or
and
I'm
it was
getting old.
and it's such a hard conversation to have with a fighter, because some of them get hurt when you bring it up.
Oh,
there's
some
been
of them
some-
get straight up mad.
Yeah, and
I
so
don't
there's
even
been
want to
times
hear
where
you talking about
we
this
just
to
take
me.
a step back. So I'm glad that people are taking a step forward and doing that. And I think the more that fighters come forward and talk about it a little bit, I think there'll be less of that stigma amongst them. They'll be more free to talk about it and say, "You're feeling that too, me too." And I think things will start to get done.
Yeah,
that way.
I think the best way for me to approach this situation is not try to make MMA, like stop punching everybody in the head. That's not the goal. The goal is to educate people, because the worst damage doesn't actually happen at the fights. People think that, oh my God, this happened at the fight. The worst damage that happens to their brain is actually inside of the gym. And also there's not enough information for them to know, okay, I just got knocked out, or I just felt like a little groggy, or I don't feel very good, I have a headache. They are not even associated that they could possibly had a concussion unless they really flat out on the ground.
Right.
And then there's trainers that will give them 2 weeks to come back, 2 months, or some will be like, get up, are you feeling okay? Continue
Right.
training. What's
and
the
then
matter
your
with
bravado makes you feel like I gotta rise up to the occasion and tough it out.
Yes,
or
and that's
I
the
only
biggest-
get paid if I show up.
Yes.
a
And
lot
worst of all,
pressures.
there's a lot of pressure, not just for fighters. I mean, obviously, I have a soft spot. When I came into the situation in the Concussion Foundation, I came in to protect the fighters and to make sure that this is my community. So it's my social responsibility to make sure I do something about it. But there's all different. There's soccer. There's the NFL. Everybody's doing the same thing. They're toughing it out.
And by the way, I want people to understand, not just professional soccer like we're
No.
witnessing like Copa America. Little girls, I see them playing all the time. I've been looking stuff up on this, and same thing. Little girls, your daughters, folks, if you're listening, and if they play, please, this applies to everybody. I just saw that new article. Same thing with rugby players.
Yes, it's rugby, it's water polo,
everywhere.
it's wrestling, gymnastics, is surfing, because everybody gets, anybody that could possibly hit their head, biking, or whatever they're doing, domestic violence victims, military, all that stuff. So it's mental health is an issue that most people don't talk about it. I think now more than ever we are talking, because I think it's the disease of the century, because everybody seems to have something. Good days, bad days, and just don't have a place to channel it, and that's a very big problem.
Okay, now again, we're a little short on time, but first of all, the great article that was written by the great Josh Gross, good friend of the show, at theathletic.com, or excuse me, www.theathletic.com. Rose Gracie's fight against CTE. And, this is what caught me. Everyone I ever loved has been dealing with this. It's really, really insightful. And so, guys, if you have anything for Rose, go ahead and ask. I do have one other thing that I want to close with regarding, do we call it a compound in Brazil? What you got going on there?
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk about that in just a second, but I want to make sure I don't ignore the fellas about anything you might have.
I was just going to say, I haven't gotten a chance to read that article. That's in my top 5 queue. There's so many good articles out there right now, but the reason why it's in my top 5, so to speak, I actually, I've done martial arts since the early 90s, and you only have one amateur fight, but I've competed in literally every other form of martial arts: amateur boxing, kickboxing, whatever, taekwondo, national level. And you don't have to be a professional fighter to deal with it.
Absolutely not.
And that's part of the reason why I wear these really cool glasses, not because I want to look cool, but the last one I got, I'm sure I had multiple. I just didn't know about it because it came from that culture where I was almost proud I had a chin, in training, let people hit me and, hit my head against things, show how tough I was.
Yes.
You didn't know any better.
No, they still do it to this day.
And the last one I had in 2015, I don't want to go wax on. Our listeners have heard it a billion times, but it led me to a lot of education and understanding, and there's still not a lot of awareness. And granted, the science is still catching up too. So I'm not faulting anybody. It's just great to see the people that do advocate and bring it to the forefront. So just a long-winded thank you.
No, I don't think there's anything noble that I'm doing. I think it's just what has to be done. So if I have a voice and people are going to listen to it, why wouldn't I do it? That's just crazy.
And I was just going to ask, can you give us maybe like the top 3 symptoms that you would see so that we can direct somebody to you guys? And
I think the biggest misconception that people have is that they think they don't have a concussion at all, and that's the problem. Is like they feel like, okay, I got hit, I have a little bit of headache, and there's nothing major here, but
my bell rung. I hear that a lot. I got my bell rung. that could be a concussion.
That is absolutely,
Yeah.
or subconcussive is just as dangerous. Is the repetitive hit throughout the time that causes the main problem in the future. So I think in most of them don't even know they have to get checked by a doctor before they're able to come back. So what they're doing is that they get hit, and now they're hurting themselves on top of already something that's already hurt. Then it's just a recipe for disaster. But I would say depression, the ones I see most commonly between people that not just reach out to me, but I say depression, anxiety. Obviously, forgetfulness. They forget a lot of stuff too.
Yeah. We gotta talk when this show's done.
The Gracie Concussion Challenge. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's basically an effort for us to be able to get athletes to donate their brains, because there's not enough studies for us to know any answers of what it is, if there's a cure or not, or what happened. So what we need is people to be able to donate their brains. That it's only post-mortem that we use them. So it's to pledge their brains for us to be able to study them once they pass away, so we can find hopefully a cure in the future for this disease.
Right, because she mentioned earlier, folks, in case you missed it, you can only diagnose it once somebody's already passed on. However, I do hear they're making strides in being able to get to the point where we're able to diagnose that while somebody is living, which would be tremendous. But in the meantime, this is what we're sitting with.
It'll be tremendous. I mean, there's some people that you can kind of look, and there's the whole list is checked, that you're like, okay, this is somebody that we could certainly say this is what happened. People that, fighters that have had bleeding in their brains and continue fighting the next day for a belt. I mean, I've heard all the stories. I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is even happening right now. But it's still happening, and it's still very scary.
Please tell the listeners about the other side of the family and what's going on down in Brazil.
Yeah, so, working with the Concussion Foundation, I've got an opportunity to meet. I've been working with the University of São Paulo, obviously the University of Boston. They have different universities, and we have a clinical trials that we're going to start doing in Brazil. And pathological, we have the pathological team that will actually get the brains to study the brain. But we have my other side of my family. They basically have a 4,800 square feet of land in Brazil with waterfalls and whatnot. And I asked them, what they do now is that they get the animals caught in the black market and reintroduced back to nature. It's a land protected by the environmentally protected land. And my cousins basically said, I told them I want to do something similar like that for fighters. And I keep saying fighters, but it's all athletes. I can't forget, because it's soccer players too and everybody. But fighters are my peeps. So I told them, I explained to them what I wanted to do, and my family basically said, don't worry, we'll help you make this thing happen. So it is basically what I'm doing is that I'm creating a space, because I had all these guys calling me because they need to be somewhere. They need to be put in a place right now. They need to be in a clinical facility being treated, and there's no treatment for anybody that has been in a past fight or anything like that. So I said, if we don't have a spot, I guess I'll create one. So that's basically what I'm doing, is trying to put together a clinic where they can go to Brazil. It's like a rehabilitation sanctuary research center where we can study their brains, that we can do different treatments, have them do, animal therapies and therapies like learn how to cook, and they'll have a very really good life with massages and whatever it is that they need to recoup their bodies, their mind, and their souls at this point.
Right. How about the Gracies, huh? The
Yeah.
grandfather creates
Always changing the game.
leverage and techniques for the smaller man, and and look what that turned
Dad
into.
in the
Dad,
UFC,
the UFC
yeah.
co-creator there, and look at you taking
And
the
I'm
baton.
here just to make sure that I make everybody stay healthy and safe.
Let's do a catch-up,
Okay.
maybe in a few weeks or in a few
For
months.
sure.
Whenever you have news, please feel free to reach out.
Yes.
So that we can keep updating people, because it's very, very important what you're doing, and I commend you for it. I'm sorry we don't have more time today. It's just such a busy week.
No,
There's
it's
so
a
many
crazy
guests,
weekend.
but
I
we
can't
really
wait to get
appreciate
out of
you
here right
stopping
now.
by and talking to us. Is there anything else you wanted to add that we may have
No, that's
left
it.
out
This
here?
is good. If they can check out the Concussion Foundation, it's very important that fighters, and not just fighters, but people that practice jiu-jitsu or practice kickboxing or any other sports, contact sports in any way, shape, or form, that they pledge their brain for us to be able to study if they go to Concussion Foundation, if they go to rosegracie.org, they just bought that domain, so then it goes straight into the Gracie Challenge.
Perfect.
So that makes life a little bit easier.
Okay.
All
Well,
right?
thank you so much.
No,
Muito
thank you.
obrigado
De nada.
for stopping by here. Good luck on Sunday when
Thank
our
you.
Peruvian team plays your Brazilian team.
Well, good luck for you. That's
I
what
know,
I'd
we
say.
need it, because you beat us 5-0 about 10 days ago. I realize that. All right, folks, that's Rose Gracie. Follow her on
Thank
Twitter. I
you.
think she'll start tweeting soon. I don't know. I see it there.
I'm on Instagram
Rose
more.
Gracie.
Yeah,
All
Rose
right.
Gracie for sure.
There you go, folks. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking to Brian Butler from Sucker Punch, along with Jens Pulver and Alyse Anderson. Don't forget, Jorge Masvidal will be stopping by in the second hour as well. We'll be right back, folks. Don't touch that dial.
Did you ever get a discount? And that shit starts with an arm and a leg, right?
Pack a knuckle sandwich and some punch. The boys are about to break down the latest in MMA news. Here are George, Goes, and Dan.
SiriusXM has your chance to see Lady Gaga live in Las Vegas. One grand prize winner will receive a trip for two, including airfare, hotel, and tickets to both of Lady Gaga's shows, Enigma and Jazz and Piano, at the Park Theater at Park MGM, Las Vegas. Plus, you'll get to meet Lady Gaga. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/Gaga, Gaga Vegas, and do that before August 31st. No additional purchase necessary. Want to welcome to the show Brian Butler from Sucker Punch Entertainment. Welcome back, Brian. How you doing?
Good, man. Good to be back as usual.
Yeah. I see you got Jens Pulver, future UFC Hall of Famer, in tow, right?
Yep.
We're going to make that happen at some point, right?
We should be. Is it tonight?
Tonight, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We were just going to go linger in the background.
Are you guys going to go?
No.
I thought about it, but our show ends as it begins, and by the time we're done and I make it down there, I think it'll be like the World MMA Awards. I made it in about 5 awards in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I still got to enjoy it and see it and run into some people, so it was cool. I ran into Gracie, who was just here, so that was cool. But I don't know if I'm going to do that again because I'm just like running around.
Yeah, we're not going to go until it actually becomes a real one with Jens in it.
Right, yeah. Update me here on what you got coming up next as far as like your fighters and...
Coming up, Sacramento is a big one for us. We've got obviously Jermaine's going to be the main event up there. This week, I'm just here for International Fight Week. I've got a bunch of my fighters in town doing things and meetings with sponsors and stuff like that. So this is kind of more of a meet and greet week.
Right. What about this new era of pay-per-views and ESPN Plus and paywalls and all that stuff? Like, has that changed the negotiation game at all?
The negotiation hasn't really changed. We're still trying to see how it all, I guess, will pan out as everybody starts getting more and more used to using the apps over on demand or pay-per-view and stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see.
Can you tell us, are salaries going up? I mean, we hear about, they no longer do 8 and 8. They do 10 and 10. They do 12 and 12. Things like that. What about, you have fighters that are just starting out. You got mid-tier, world champions. I mean, you're all over the place, so you've probably seen a little bit of it all. But can you honestly say over the past, all those years that I guess even, let's just say, concentrate where Dana White is because he's the vocal one, where he's been around, have the salaries continuously gone up and
I think they're steadily going up, and I think that as basically what they want to see is the fighter get through the first contract to see if how good they think they are. And I think if the fighter gets through the first contract and the UFC wants to renew them, that's when you're starting to see that their bumps are increasing.
Mm-hmm.
Has the cost of training as well gone up? Because now we see what some of the camps are able to. Back in the day, they couldn't bring in fighters. Now they're bringing in fighters, or using higher level of equipment.
I mean, there's always new things going on that can come in that people are trying to pick up on. Obviously Conor was doing his movement thing. There's nutrition that's changing all the time. Yeah. There's nutrition that's always changing all the time. So nutritionists are getting a good foothold in this sport right now. It just depends. I think some people just train pretty basic still, so, we'll see.
Have negotiations ever gotten heated when you've gone in there to talk to Dana and Hunter or Lorenzo back in the day, or has it been smooth? What's that process like? Stressful, fun?
It's just, it's never gotten like heated, but we've gotten to a point where when you're close, you're both kind of agreeing and not agreeing to certain parts of it. So I mean, it's just the game.
Do you even bother with, are you crazy and like all those used car salesman tactics, or is it pretty much
I try
like
not
let's
to
just
do that at all.
Let's just find a way to get close and then
I just try to paint the picture the way I see it from our side, and I understand, and I try to let them know that I understand their side as well, and this is what what I feel the compromise is going to be, somewhere in and around here, and that's where we kind of go. I try not to use one-liners like that.
How long can a negotiation last? What's the quickest one you've ever had? What's the longest one you've ever had?
Quickest one would just be time for a new contract, quick phone call, and it's done. Longest has been a few months.
Do you ever get mad if you say, we want to make A, and they go, you got it? Do you get mad in the sense where you're like, fuck, I should have asked for A plus another 10K or 20K or whatever?
No. I've never, we end up always in a pretty, happy spot.
Yeah. And how long was the longest one you said?
About 3 months.
Oh.
Can you imagine that?
How long ago was that? Are we so far away that you can tell us who?
No. It was, it was a couple of years ago, I think. I can't. Time for me is just a meld.
But at the end of the day, you got what you want, or was that?
Yeah, we got what we wanted, yeah.
Wow.
3 months. Can you say the name?
I'd rather not, no.
Okay.
You guys probably know.
There's been scenarios where we've seen managers post online or something, we're here for a negotiation. And you see the manager and the fighter, and they go into a room and they talk to whoever they need to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also been times where you just see the manager, and the manager goes into the room. Which scenario is tougher? Which one do you prefer? Because you really have to be on the same page with your fighter if you're going to be walking in there with them, right?
Yeah, and I usually am on the same page with my fighter. I prefer to go with the fighter.
With the fighter?
Yeah. I like them to see it, so they can understand everything that's going on, and I also think that having them there kind of takes a little edge off of both sides that might otherwise, if it was just me, it might just get heated real quick,
Are there a lot of kicks under the table?
No.
Yeah, is there a strategy?
No strategy. It's just, no.
Are the ladies catching up to the men in terms of the ability to make money?
It just obviously depends which lady, The same thing with depending on which guy.
Well, you work with Elise. She's uber popular for a long time. Rose Namajunas, she's been a world champion. So,
It's still not as high as the guys,
But are they catching? Kind of taking bigger steps? Because what I can see, the one thing I will give the ladies, man, is their Instagram follows just crush the males. You know what I mean? Like if a perfect example was Elise Herrig, or even Misha Tate went on one of those military visits with us, and when they would post something, it just was so powerful. It was such a boom.
Because
you know
I think posting on social media for women, at least to my experience of managing, a lot of women, it comes more organically to them. For them, posting about something in their day or this and this is organic. Where guys are just, they can be straightforward meatheads and just not think that this is not worth posting, or I'm not going to post. And girls also have a little more leeway on what they can post. If I saw Paul Felder posting selfies of him in what outfit he's going to wear to the awards, I'd be like, Paul, let's dial it back.
You taking the trip to Abu Dhabi with Felder?
Did that come out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I probably. Nice. He already gave me some crap about it yesterday.
About you going?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Your name popped up earlier this week. Did you see that? Regarding Draco Rodriguez,
yeah,
King of the Cage, Marlon Vera, UFC 239.
Yeah.
Give us your side. I think when one reads this, we got a little bit. We got some quotes from Steven Morocco, I believe, reached out to you, but there's a couple quotes in the story. This is your chance maybe to talk about that.
It was just that situation that we got the call. Sean called me, said that he wanted Draco, asked if Draco could make the weight, and I had Draco cutting down his weight ever since we didn't do the KOTC fight on back in early June, and I was excited. I was excited to call Terry, and because I've only ever had very little interaction with him. I tried to call him. He wasn't answering his phone. I called his matchmakers. They told me he was in Cuba or en route to Cuba or something like that. So we had a very, very small window to get this done because obviously the fight is tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And he just didn't. He didn't reply. He didn't do nothing. And finally, at the 11th hour, I called him the next morning. I was like, I need to know. And he answered the phone. I was like, man, thank you for answering the phone. I was like, we have some good news. I was like, Draco got the call. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, we got the call. We're going to fight in the UFC next week. He's like, no, you're not. I'm not letting him out of his contract. And I was like,
4-fight contract, right?
He had 4 fights remaining on
Right,
it. So
okay.
now, and also Draco had this contract before I started managing him.
Okay.
Because I would not have signed that contract.
Okay.
And then, he's like, he's not going to do it. And he's like, I got too much money invested in him. So I can already tell he's angling. Because I had to do this before.
That was my next question. Is this a typical call when you make these calls to these organizations?
No,
they
not
go
at all.
smoother than that?
Way smoother. Usually, if I talk to Mark or Ed or anybody at LFA, they're happy as hell. They're like telling me, what do we need to get him to call? They're working with us.
It's a good step for them as well, right?
Great step. Lex over at Titan, every happy as hell to promote anybody to the UFC and get them going. He just wants to be that spot for the fighters to help launch them.
Right.
So it was in my head, I was thinking the same thing. Congrats, we got another one graduated, from KOTC into the UFC, and he was just he was a dick about it, to be honest with you, and it caught me off guard, and I didn't really have an answer for him, and I was like, he's angling about how much money he had put in to this kid, so I knew he was trying to squeeze me to buy him out of the contract. So I was like, how much do you have tied up in him? And he's like, $50,000, and I was like, I can't cuss you, right? Yeah,
we're on serious if you want.
Yeah, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And he's like, no. He's like, if you don't believe me, you don't know shit about promoting. And I was like, I know that you fight him locally. I know that he's fought for you for many fights now, and he sells a ton of tickets for you. And I know you ain't paying him shit right now. I was like, so I know you don't have $50,000 tied up in him, and I know the value of the remaining fights on his contract if he wins and if he loses. So he stood by that. He's like, well, I'm not letting him out. And I was just so furious that I hung up on him. And then I sent him a text message with an offer to buy out the contract. I offered him $6,000.
Okay.
And he didn't reply. He had his matchmaker. And then I said, this isn't going to look good. I was like, I implore you, please let this kid have this opportunity. The landscape of the UFC is different now. Getting the call up is much harder than it used to be. And I was very nice. I didn't become a dictatorial until I was still mad 2 days later that we lost the opportunity. And, that was it. I told him it wasn't going to look good. He had his matchmaker call me and say, are you threatening us? And I was like, I'm not threatening you. I'm telling you the truth. I was like, it is what it is. It's going to get out. People are going to know Draco didn't get this fight, and they're going to ask why. I was like, so I'm telling you, it's not going to look good for you. He's like, well, you do anything like that, it's going to look, horrible for you, and we've been around for so long. We're this credible show, and we're this. He's talking to me like I didn't know anything about MMA, and I was like, I get it. I was like, I want to work with you guys. I was like, but if this is how you're going to treat fighters, I was like, I don't want to work with you, and basically that was it. And I got off the phone, and I tried to stay calm, and I never want to react and just tweet something out because I'm pissed. And I told myself, if I'm still this angry, at the end of the weekend, I'm just gonna blast them, because fuck them. I've never needed King of the Cage. I never used them in the past. I've had maybe one client that's been with him, and it was Draco. And so I have all of his threats to me don't hold any weight because I just simply don't need King of the Cage and never have, So here we are, and Sunday
the
or
$6,000
Monday
was declined, right?
Didn't even bring it up after that. Yeah, he didn't say nothing, and also the window closed. So we lost the opportunity, and that's when I was still fuming mad. So by the time Monday came, I was just ready to let him speak out on it.
All right, we got to take a quick break, and we also have Jen's Pulver, and you're saying one of the biggest stars at Invicta right now, Alyse Anderson's also coming with him, right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll chat with them a little bit here. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we go to commercial regarding Draco? Because
the only thing that I would say is that I read Terry's rebuttal to Stephen Morocco on Junkie, and it just floors me how somebody could just be that big of a liar. And anytime he wants to come on a show or do a call or compare facts, we can do that. I got text messages that just destroy everything that he said on there. So everything he said was false. Everything I said was true. And I don't know what his reputation is. I don't try to judge anybody until I meet them. But his reputation matches exactly what it was after I met him. And I'll put my credibility up against his any day.
All right. There you have it, folks. That's Brian Butler from Sucker Punch Entertainment. All right, we got to take our break right now. When we come back, we'll be talking to Jen's Pulver, and Alyse Anderson from Invicta. So stay close. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
So then I'll go over there. 3 minutes, guys.
Good, you're still here. The boys were just getting warmed up. Now the real show begins. Take it away, boys.
All right, we reshuffled the deck here a little bit. Again, thank you to Brian Butler for his time, hanging out with us always when he comes to town. One of the top agents in the sport of mixed martial arts. And he has 2 of his clients here sitting next to us. So let me introduce them. On the far right, we have Jens Pulver, future UFC Hall of Famer, but a former, for sure. These are facts. Lightweight champion of the world, good friend of MMA Junkie Radio, and one hell of a gamer, too, as well, right? Yeah.
Sometimes. I'm trying to get there.
All right, yeah. And we also have Invicta FC Atomweight Alyse Anderson here with us, former teammate of Dan Tom. I guess they have some training sessions or whatever. So welcome to the show, Elise. How you doing?
Thanks. How are you?
All right. How are you putting up with that Jens Pulver guy?
Yeah. It's taking a little getting used to, but now we're good buddies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's like, I got this gum. Hold on, take this. She spits it in my head like oh, guys, I'll throw the gum away. My bad.
Yeah.
He's a good mentor.
We spent a whole weekend with him, and I'm telling you, towards the end, it was like, oh, man, I just... See ya, Jens. It was nice.
I didn't tell him I was getting tired of
us.
it.
Nice hanging out with you. Yeah, I think he told us that, right?
Yeah. At the end there were a few like, hey, if you do that. What was the story? Remember, I actually remember I recorded it.
He did something. I remember. Yeah, I talk a lot. So
we were at the very end of his leash.
Yeah, I go. You catch me at the end. Don't do it right.
We did a military morale visit with Jens about 18 months ago, right?
Something like
with
that.
Uriah
That
Faber
long?
and
Yeah.
Jens Pulver and Art
James
Davey.
Vick, yeah, Davies.
Yeah, we had a great time though, didn't we?
That was fun. I had a blast. It was a lot of fun. It was real cool listening to Art just talking about trying to get that first show up and running, just all the hassles they had to go through and stuff like that. So I had a blast listening to that. And then again, hanging out with Faber and everybody, of course. And then just getting to meet, our soldiers, our troops, what they do, and being able to BS with them.
And we opened
you
up
guys
to them.
was there,
We opened
yeah,
up
it
to
was
them.
cool.
Man. It was really, really cool.
I like that there was a link to everything. So without Art, there's no you, and without you, there's no us. And then you have that newer crop of guys like the James Vick, right? That they have to build off of the stuff that everybody else built. It was fun. Like it was
was
fun
cool.
Listening to everybody
like different
talk
chapters
and
of
learn.
MMA.
Yeah.
And one of the latest chapters is Alyse. So Alyse, right now we have like some good pillars that good foundation for mixed martial arts. But back in the day, I mean, I'm telling you, they were putting band-aids and sticking fingers, just to close things up because the sport, we weren't sure if it was going to have a future. But if it wasn't for a guy like Jens Pulver out there bleeding, sweating, crying, and doing his thing, none of us would be here. So we always have a lot of respect for the older generation, but the newer generation, take advantage of it. That's just the way life is. I mean, sometimes I think we come off as like they're a little spoiled or whatever, but that's just the way it is. You know what I mean? Like I had to hear my dad talk about walking through the snow to go to school. Yeah, Dad.
Yeah, he grew up in California.
Right, but anyway, I've seen a lot of video on you. You know what I mean? And you got some skills.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. What got you started?
Actually, my dad cornered in UFC 3, so he talks about how I'm spoiled now too with everything coming up because he's like back in the day, bare knuckles, and we fought multiple times a night. You only have to do 3 5-minute rounds. That's nothing. You better be training. So then he had a karate school that they did jiu-jitsu upstairs, and I kind of always been around the game. And then
did you tell him? Yeah, but you may have done bare knuckles, but did you do a flying arm bar?
Flying triangle.
Flying triangle. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh,
That was slick.
It was. I think I'm gonna hit it again. Actually, my next fight.
Yeah.
I just keep telling everyone.
That's the bread and butter, huh?
Yep.
Is there another trick that we don't know about? Something that you've been holding on to? Something that you've always wanted to finish the fight with?
Any flying submission?
Any flying submission?
Yeah, I love jiu-jitsu, so that's my bread and butter.
And motorbikes?
And I race motocross.
Yeah. So going in the air is not a problem.
Yeah, I've been working on it. So
yeah, I mean, you're a daredevil.
Adrenaline junkie, you could say that.
Wow, that's insane. Seriously, how high? What's like the biggest accomplishment you've done in motorcycles?
Like when I was 14, I raced like the circuit and followed it around every weekend and did pretty good. I got 3rd overall in the state for girls, but I was having more injuries in motocross, and I was training to play college soccer, so my dad kind of made me back off a little on the motocross.
So I think it was Brian Caraway that told us, because he does some of this too, and he was saying that the biggest injuries are like your ankles and your shoulders, right? That's what's like taking the brunt of every hit.
Yeah, especially, well, obviously he's casing a lot of jumps if that's what he's saying, but yeah, it takes a lot of impact your forearms, but I think that it's made my jiu-jitsu better because of that grip strength. So I just say it's cross-training.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten Jens on one of these bikes?
Not yet.
No, she's trying. No, we try. We'll figure it out. When she, like I said, the big thing is when she headlines and begins to pioneer and start the 105-pound division in the UFC, then I'm like, all right, I'll get on a bike.
I like that vision.
Yeah, I do. It's one of the things because I started the 155-pound division back in the day when it's like, no way, this is going to happen. You know what I mean? And it was 170. And it's like, well, we'll just keep knocking people out. You know what I mean? And this weight class will start. So being able to start that now, she has the opportunity. So hopefully, wishful thinking, but again, being part of Sucker Punch and Brian Butler and just her skill set and how she handles herself, not only on the bike, but again the way she's out there and fighting, stuff like that. But besides that, the nurse, my wife being an ICU nurse, I'm a big fan of our nurses out here, so I got all the love and respect for her. So that's something that she has this opportunity. She can be the first ever 105-pound champ. I mean, pretty cool.
Yeah, and so have you heard, or have you by any chance, is the UFC even entertaining this? Like, is that like sweet dreams at this point, or
it's got to start somewhere?
Have you guys heard anything behind the scenes?
It's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I think I just have a feeling they will. I mean, they've added every other division, so why not? And there's a ton of girls I know that would drop from 115 to 105.
Right.
So that will stack the division more. And, one championship has it, and the UFC, it's like the last one that they haven't added. So it's more of just a good feeling. I just know it.
Well, women's MMA is popping. That's what I was telling Brian right now. Like, I feel like the ladies are just taking these big steps, to basically be on par with what the men are doing. I'm sure that's going to happen salary-wise and everything, but they headline events. And even outside of mixed martial arts, WWE just had WrestleMania.
Yeah.
The main event was a triple threat match with, I'm sure you know this, right? Or I don't know if you follow it, but Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, and Becky Lynch. Yeah, so it's everywhere. Boxing, I've seen a lot of females there that are doing their thing as well.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, especially, not that long ago, Dana saying girls will never fight in the UFC. Now they're headlining shows, so it's just a matter of time till they add my division. And I think that I strongly believe that I'll be one of the pioneers of that division, and I plan on being the UFC 105-pound champ. So
one of the best fights I ever saw was an atomweight fight between two ladies that compete now in the UFC at strawweight. It was Jessica Penne and Michelle Watterson. It was at Invicta, but it was for the atomweight, right?
That was
for the atomweight title. It was an awesome fight. So I believe it. Now look, they created a division at 145 pounds, which is, there's not too many fighters in that division. But I think if they made that happen, they might be able to do atomweight for sure. So I'm glad that you're pushing this.
Yeah, I hope so. And Brian's been doing a good job of, helping me promote, get out there, because I'm not fighting as often. But hopefully I make a statement August 9th, and we'll show why there should be 105ers in the UFC.
That's right. If you go to Invicta Fights, there's also a voting going on for submission of the year. Now, the voting ends on Sunday at 11 p.m., but get in there right now and check out Alyse Anderson's Flying Triangle submission. Get in there and vote. It looks like it's a two-horse race right now. And it's either going to be yours or Kay Hansen's. So, folks, go to @Invicta Fights and give it a vote. Now, we are coming up here against the hour, but I want to keep you guys a little bit over because Brian was letting me in on a little secret. I guess Jen's over there has been working on some sort of a nickname or something like that. I want to find out about that when we come back. So don't touch that dial, folks. We'll be back in about 60 seconds. It's MMA Junkie Radio. I'm Fight Nation, channel 156. We got Jen's Pulver in the house and Alyse Anderson in the house.
Described as fluffy, but their radio style is on point. Here are George Goes and Dan.
All right, we're back. We're going to continue on here with Jen's Pulver and Alyse Anderson. Alyse, tell me about this nickname that Jen's gave you. What did he come up with?
Little Savage.
Little Savage?
Little Savage.
Kind of like a playoff of Little Evil.
A little bit of Little Evil, but she is Little Savage.
To be clear, it's Lil, right? Or are we going with Little or Little?
Lil.
Lil. Lil
Yeah.
Savage.
Lil Savage.
What'd you think? How, where'd you come up with that one?
I mean, I think just watching her in the extreme aspect of, motorcycles, number one, I'm deadly
That's
afraid
true.
of them. So to watch her do, go through that motocross, I know.
It's
Yeah,
not
I mean, just
motorcycle.
watching her
it's
always
motocross.
jumping dirt bikes, motocross. And, but then to see that and then to see the way that she fights and the style that she was trying to fight behind. And I was like, I just became a fan. Butler, I'm big into Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch it's my team, And now that I'm done fighting, I'm like, all right, what can I do to be a part of this? What can I do? How can I help out? And Brian's been getting me more and more into the game and showing back up and getting me out of my sulking of being retired. So, like I said, I've been taking more time being around the game and getting back into it. And I started checking, watching the fighters who's coming up. I'm like, oh, dude, she's a little savage. I'm like, dang. And then it's like, hey, the name. And so, yeah, hopefully it sticks. But, yeah, like I said, I see a lot of similarities in what she's doing as far as, again, being told you got to go up a weight. You're going to have to fight at 170. You're going to have to, at one time, they're never going to have your weight class. You're going to have, you're going out there and you're fighting for free. You're fighting against anybody at any weight class, just to build. You're probably like, no, if I knock enough people out, they'll make the 155-pound division. And so I can relate a lot to what she's going through, do that, and being a part of that. But the biggest thing, like I said, is because my wife, she's an ICU nurse as well, and knowing that Alyse is a nurse and watching her go through that, see, I'm such a fan of what they do. Underprivileged, I mean, they just under-respected, man. They just, things that they, what they do for you it's amazing. So that's all I do. I go like, she's a savage. This girl's, she's a beast.
Mm-hmm.
In a good way.
It's catchy and it's got a story.
I love it. Yeah. What'd you think when you first heard it? I mean, did it hit right away? Did it register? Or were you like, well, hold on a second here?
Well, I always said, like, from an amateur that I never wanted a fight name. And then when they first started saying it, I was like, well, I don't even want to say the one that everyone was saying, but I'll say it, Alyse the Beast. And I was like, no.
It's too easy, too basic. I get it. Yeah.
Right, the pulverizer thing. Same thing with Pulver, right? No, sorry.
So I was like, so then when it's starting to stick with me, and now I do like it because I feel like it kind of matches my style, especially that it came from Jens Pulver. And it's like meaningful now. It's not just.
It's a world champ right there. Yeah.
World champ.
Yeah, that's very cool. I like it. I think we'll stay with it. All right. Well, we are staying with it. Not like my final.
Yeah.
That wasn't the final.
If we drop the gavel,
you
it's ours.
Yeah. All right. Now, Alyse, you're not getting out of this. I always tell all of our in-studio guests, Butler's done it. Pulver's done it. Can you share a good street fight story with us?
A street fight story?
Yeah. The motocross days or anything? Anybody cut you
one.
off and you had to, like, take off the helmet and say, what's up, man?
I only have
little savage here.
one, and I don't even think my manager would like me saying it but I'll say it. I'll say it on the radio. We were just.
Now set it up. Where were you at? Was this the motocross days or the jiu-jitsu days or what?
I was at an MMA show watching.
Okay, you were a fan.
And I was a fighter, but we just had some friends on the card.
Yeah.
And it was after the fights in the hotel room. And one of the guys took a full can of beer. We were drinking a little and just chucked it at me and called me, a not appropriate name. And I had a.
Does it sound like witch?
No.
Does it sound like in football, the punt?
It starts like with a W and rhymes with like more.
Oh,
really?
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Who was this guy?
Just a buddy, just a fan guy, and he was really drunk. But I had a bunch of rings on and was dressed up, and I just, as hard as I could, punched him, and then he tackled me, and I put him in a triangle, and I took my heel off and started hitting him in the head with my.
Little savage.
Slow down here. Well, I gotta unpack a lot here.
Beat her with the heel.
I gotta unpack all this. Okay, hold on a second. First of all,
I was really mad.
I'm still recovering with this jag-off.
Yeah, why would he throw a
He's
full
a big
beer?
dude, and he just threw a full beer, at you and called you that name.
Yeah.
For no reason. He just thought like that was cool, or
Well, I was like 19, so I couldn't get into the bar, so we kind of all had to come back. I was dating a fighter, and so all of his buddies were mad that they couldn't go out,
because of your age,
because of my age.
Still, that's an overreaction.
Wow, so it is took it. That's
okay. So then he throws that, and then
Then with the ring, just started hitting him, and he.
Was there any warning, like you know, you're gonna get it. I mean, you just
No, I was so mad. I was covered in beer because it was full, but it was open. So it was like, hit me hard, beer all over. And I was just like,
What did your punch do to him?
made him, well, he
You
started
buckled?
bleeding because of my rings. And then he just, like, tackled me on the bed, and I put him in a triangle, but I had heels on. So as I'm in the triangle, I took a heel off and just started. Yeah, and then he took a picture, and I saw it on Facebook the next morning of his face, and he was like, great night of fights, even though he didn't fight, and his face was like so black and blue, but he had it coming. So that's my only street fight story
that's
ever.
a hell of a street fight.
Damn, I didn't even know that one. That's
Wow, that was a really, really good street
That's
fight
savage.
story.
At the point where you go ahead and grab your heel and just give him some the pop, pop, pop.
Did he go out from the
That's just-
triangle?
No, he was like 400 pounds, huge guy, so I couldn't really lock my legs all the way, so that's
Right.
why I'd, take the heel off and just finish it there.
Huh.
And then finally, like, everyone in the room broke it up, and
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That Little Savage is, I don't know if that's enough of a name.
I know.
Because that was a savage move right there.
I can't wait for them to show us the video later on after the year.
There's a
Right?
video? Did I miss
There's gotta
that?
be,
there's
right?
not. No, there's no video. I wish there was. I could probably find the picture of the dude's face, but that's
Wow.
about it.
That is
That's a good
crazy.
story.
That is a really, really good
Yeah.
story. Yeah. All right, so you're kind of you're mid camp right now for your fight in August, right?
Yep, about
Alright.
5 weeks out.
Yeah. And how you feeling? Good?
Good. Vegas heat is a little rough to get used to, but each week has gotten better.
Did you get workouts in here, or is this a vacation or a little break away from the camp?
Oh no, I've gotten to go to the UFC Pie Center, and actually, I've been calling him Uncle Jens,
Yeah,
just
Uncle
because
Jens, Uncle
has
Jens.
been showing me some stuff to work for the fight and getting to work with him, and that's been really cool. To
He's
get
got,
to
he's
mix
got
it
a
up.
good liver shot.
Yeah, he's been showing me those
We've been working on
uppercuts.
it.
Yep, we've
Yeah,
been
we're
working on it.
getting inside.
How's the gaming going, Jens?
I'm loving it. I had a blast. What happened is I actually started getting into IRL more. So when I'm streaming, I'm out. Is it cool? Like Twitch TV, Jens
Yeah,
Pulver.
plug it
So,
in if you want.
yeah, I've been streaming on Twitch TV / Jens
Is that
Pulver.
Indie Racing League? Is that what IRL is? I don't
No,
know.
IRL is just in real life. Yeah, sorry,
Oh.
just IRL. Like I could have been having a camera going right now, so I'm pissing them off because I don't do enough of it. But what I did start doing is I just start watching fights on the internet, and then I commentate them. And I'll just see fights like the Stroker fights and stuff are huge. But I talked to a group called Street Beefs. I'm a real big
seen
fan
that.
of what they do, Harrisonburg, Virginia, and it's just guns down, gloves up. If you have an issue, to come out here and we'll help you solve it. And they can fight it out. But you watch how many of them shake hands and are done afterwards. There's something about that when you're first fighting, and it's just that initial rush. That's not that scary because you're caught in the moment. But give them a day or 2 or 3, or they do like us and get ready to train for months and have to go out there. That's scary because you're allowing everybody involved. They can all, and you have time to think about it. And they have time to plan for you, and you have time to plan for them. And there's going to be other people watching. It gets real scary. So a lot of people get scared of the idea of fighting, and that's why they want to get a gun or a bat or whatever. Something like that. These guys are learning, and girls are learning how there's camaraderie to be made, just like you talk to a lot of the fighters or wrestlers or people that get into combative sports to sitting there, quote unquote, beating each other up.
But by the way, I think I've seen that, and they had good MMA skills.
Some
I
of
saw
them do.
like great
Some of them have good
kicks and
boxing skills.
techniques.
Yeah, some of
So
them do. And the more that
I was
they're
expecting
growing-
more of a street fight.
Okay, yeah, you watch their first season. We'll see a lot of the speed bag kind of punching and stuff like that. So what I started doing was, and I asked them, "Is it cool if I watch?" Like, yeah. And I started breaking down all the fights, pausing, slowing down, rewind, giving them advice like, "Hey, if you're gonna do that." And so I've been having a blast doing that. It's my own version of just kind of being a commentator and checking out. And then so now people start, "Okay, would you watch my fight? And would you break it down?" I'm like, "Sure." So then they just send it to me on the stream, and I break the fights down and stuff like that. And hey, it's cool. I'm having fun.
You're a little bit of a coach, a little bit of a fight analyst.
Yeah, a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm getting into it. Like I said, it was fun working with Elise this week, and stuff like that. And again, Brian bringing me around, and I told him anything for the Sucker Punch crew, I'll go and, if they want, like, it takes me a minute, but once I get comfortable, I kind of have a big tank of knowledge,
All right.
in the MMA game.
Mr. Analyst over here,
So I'm
former
having fun.
UFC
Yeah,
lightweight
so
champ.
I'm having
How about
fun,
the big fight coming up here between Jones and Thiago Santos?
The one thing about what you have to do differently with Santos is I'm hoping that he has that, pardon my language, I don't give a who I'm looking at. And he has to almost disrespect him, because what happens is that you stand out there and you let Bones pull out his sniper gun and play his paw game. He's gonna destroy you. He'll eat you up and he'll beat everything. But there's a point where you have to just, when they try to be pretty, I told this to Woodley a long time ago, when someone tries to make it pretty, you got to make it ugly. You got to step in there and make it a dogfight. And so what I mean by Santos, I hope he has enough disrespect to, I don't care what you've done, where you've come from, what kind of, you're not like, oh my God, it's Big Bones Jones, which he deserves and he's a phenom, but you can't have that kind of respect, and you got to make this, you got to be ugly. You got to make this ugly, and you got to take him to the levels, because, I mean, that's pretty much the only way. You're not going to, you know what I mean? But then again, it's MMA, one punch could end everything. But again, don't just stand back there and allow him to keep that pace and just start poking at you, front kicking and stuff like that. And I think if Santos can get in there and really push that pace and make him work, I wouldn't respect him. He can't. Otherwise, you're going to get beat like everybody else.
The moment I would be afraid is if he's just standing in front of him waiting. I just feel like that's when Jones is going to start
That's my
picking him
point. See,
apart.
that's what I mean. And I don't mean run straight up. I mean, get a circle, start cutting your angles, but don't let him get comfortable. Push him. Make him have to work. Make him have to throw his punches. Make him have to sprawl. Gustafsson did. Go watch his first fight. It's exactly what he did. He stepped out there and he just made it into a dogfight. And that's, you got to do it. And even if you get beat up, odds are if you stood out in front of him like that and waited, like you said, it's just a matter of time. And then you can become one of the rest of the, you know, the part of the average. Oh, I made it a round or two. But if you step those angles and make him have to fight, I mean, you're going to have to walk through fire, man. You're going to get hit, but bite down, and how bad do you want it? It's kind of what I think.
All right. How about you, Elise? Do you have a prediction? You don't need to give us a whole breakdown, but do you have a prediction of who's going to win?
I'm a John Jones fan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go with him. Just, I love watching him fight. I kind of like his swagger to him. So.
Finish or decision?
Finish.
Okay.
How would you guess?
What round?
Third.
Third. Oh wow, she's got the answers already ready for me.
That's it.
What about? Let's do the co-main event real quick. We'll go in reverse order. You go first, Elise. Who do you got in Amanda Nunes versus Holly Holm?
Amanda Nunes.
Okay. How does she get it done? Finish, decision, or?
I would say definitely finish. Her striking, Holly Holm is good, but I just see her outpowering her, out hustling her. So probably finish in the later rounds when she wears her out and Holly starts feeling some of Amanda's
So this
power.
one won't be quick.
No, I don't
like
think
she
so.
did with
Not
Cyborg and
I don't think so.
Rousey. All right, how about you, Jens?
She's bad, man. Nunes is unreal. I don't give it long. I don't give it long at all. I think she's got the ultimate game plan that, again, with the clinching, with taking down if she wanted to, but her power shots are a lot. So they're most effective early because she throws so dang hard and she puts the combos together. Again, if Holly can cut angles and be that kickboxer and move around, utilize those feet, stuff like that, the game plan would be great. But I don't know, man. Amanda's just a different world. She's different. And I'm a massive fan of her. Nothing against Holly, but I don't see it going long. What you did to Cyborg, and that changed everything for me. I'm like, oh, I never expected that a day in my life, you know?
Not so many people did.
Yeah, and that's my point. She's got that grit. She's got that fire. And
I thought she could win. It's not like she was just, walking into a lion's den or nothing like that. But the way she did it was all so fast.
She did it in brutal fashion. She just walked over the top of her.
Yeah.
I never expected
I thought it might play out a little bit. I predicted Cyborg, but I thought it might play out a little bit. I always give some love to the underdogs. I just feel like they're here for a reason.
Yep.
But, she just was a steamroller. So,
But that's
very, very impressed.
Going back to what you were saying about Santos and John Jones, she kind of has to do something like that, right? To be like Cyborg.
Yes, get in there and do exactly what he did with Cyborg. Not get caught up with the fact that literally the most threatening woman on the planet, everybody's like, they're creating a weight class for her, just like nobody can beat her. They can't find anyone to even match her. And so what does she do? Well, I'm not going to sit out there and be intimidated. And then, again, what that does is allow that they get that rock. They start pushing that rock, man, and all of a sudden once it goes down the other side, the momentum, and now you can't stop it. Now you've got the favorite that's now feeling everything and putting it on you. You got to go out there and derail him right off the bat, and she did, man, just blasted her.
When he was talking about the rock, for some reason I tuned out, and I was like Roadrunner Coyote.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you know,
It
it's like
sounded
every
that.
little step, you got to push that rock up the hill, and then once you get to the top and once it goes down, it's like you're building that
Yeah.
momentum. So you got to find the little things, just footwork, little things to build your momentum. Push that rock nice and slow, and once it gets up the hill and it goes down on its own, now you're a ball rolling. You got the ball rolling. You can't.
I got you.
I mean, the momentum's going.
All right, guys, we got to wrap up quick here. But I want to include you guys in our daily debate. You guys have been a fun duo here. We have Little Savage, Alyse Anderson, and Jen's Pulver, Little Evil. So let's do our daily debate, and then we'll call it a wrap. Go ahead and hit it, Jael.
The brothers Garcia seemingly can't agree on anything.
Everybody knows it's duck season. Rabbit season. Duck season. Rabbit season.
Whether it's food,
Less filling.
tastes great,
Less filling.
tastes great, gambling,
Always bet on black.
I like red,
Black.
red,
Black.
Red.
Black, dummy.
or even social media.
Instagram.
Snapchat.
Instagram.
Snapchat. The same applies to the biggest stories in MMA. Time for MMA Junkie Radio's Daily Debate.
By the way, Instagram or Snapchat? Which one of the two is the one?
Instagram.
Yes. All right.
Jen's?
Instagram.
Damn it.
Yes. All right, here's the question. Today's hashtag daily debate for at MMA Junkie Radio and Jen's Pulver and Alyse Anderson. After Friday's hashtag UFC news conference, which upcoming pay-per-view main event title fight are you most looking forward to? Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar, Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic, Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Dustin Poirier, or Robert Whittaker versus Israel Adesanya. All right, Goes, you go first.
Well, the press conference, the smack talk, there wasn't really much going on between any of them. If there was, it was between Cormier and Miocic. And that kind of got me reinvested in a fight that we've already seen. But matchup-wise, I just feel like Dustin Poirier is one that has a high MMA intelligence. And I think it's going to give Khabib some problems. I'm really interested to see what he's going to bring to the table in that fight. So for me, it's Khabib and Dustin Poirier.
All right, how about you, Alyse? Which one are you most looking forward to?
With being in camp, I haven't kept exactly up on the conferences and all of that, but I love watching a DC fight, and it's been a minute, so I would have to say
DC
that,
and Miocic?
Yes.
All right, what's coming up soon? How about you, Jens?
Khabib, Poirier. It's 100% the same thing. I think Dustin has enough knowledge behind the idea of how fit you got to be, what it's going to take to get to that level and match Khabib's wrestling, you know what I mean? And so I think it's going to be, I like it. I like this. If there's going to be a shock, man, it's Poirier. He's on a rip, man. He's amazing, and I'm excited to see the fight, 100%.
All right, mine is Whittaker and Adesanya, but only if it's in that big old stadium they're talking about. I just think it's going to be this epic event. You're going to have kind of like some little subplots, New Zealand versus Australia. But wait a minute, one of them's originally from Nigeria, one of them's originally from New Zealand, but they're still repping the flags. And they've been talking up a little bit of smack talk. Israel's not going to let up, but I think Whittaker eventually will maybe have to say something. And Whittaker's a guy that's gotten past some studs. I mean, he doesn't even have to prove himself anymore. But because he doesn't fight very often, I think he has to, put a flag down there for the middleweight division, and if it's really his or not, because Israel has taken the sport, man.
I think you're lying.
Well,
if all 4 fights were on the same night, and in the morning I told you I can only show you the result of one, would you still say that?
Well, but that's if it's in the stadium. If it's just back to here in Vegas, give me the heavyweights, Cormier and Miocic.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Over Poirier and Khabib, like you really don't want it. If
Well,
you
they're
had
all
one,
great.
if you had one, like I like that though. If you had one to choose, you only get one result. One.
That's how you know.
That's the only way you're gonna know. It's the only way you're gonna find out, and you get to just know, okay, who won, and you don't want. You want to know Poirier.
Khabib's never lost. You got to know.
You
like,
know you want to know
the guy that gave him
Poirier.
that loss.
Okay, why are you two coming at me? Elise said the same thing.
Hey, you guys were
We're on
team
the
Instagram like 10
We're on the Miocic Cormier side. When she said it was like, oh, wow, that's cute. And when I say it, it's like, this motherfucker's crazy.
Nah. I'm going to Snapchat this, too.
Yeah.
Elise, the heavyweights, they got power, right?
Yeah.
It can end like that. The other one has to play out, and not that there's anything wrong with it. We're not saying that these other fights suck, but something about the heavyweight power. I don't know. That's my stance.
But I will throw out there,
Jens
as
is
a
giving
fan,
the lightweights love because he's a lightweight.
No,
Of
but
course.
as a fan, I will be very anxious to see how Stipe goes after Cormier this time. If he's actually going to try and get more into the wrestling aspect, try to pummel more and not get caught with that close elbow, that DC just ripped him on. Is he going to try to stay and throw punches and not get as intimidated? I'm not saying intimidated like scared, but just not knowing what to throw, because once you start clinching with Cormier, you know where you're going to go, you know what I mean? And for him to throw out those elbows and really dirty box and just perfectly throw it, I mean, what's Stipe gonna do differently? I think would be a lot of fun to watch. Is just how he's gonna come in. If I was DC, I wouldn't change much. Just keep coming forward. Once it gets my hands on you, then it's all the way to the floor. Whatever I want to do. But can Stipe get in there and pummel with him? Be the bigger guy and land some damaging punches in the process before he can get inside. That'd be cool to find out.
I don't think so, though. I think DC's gonna.
Oh, I think DC still does it. I'm just saying, I think it would be interesting to see what Stipe does differently with the fight.
Well, here's how the results broke down. 40% agreed with Jens and goes Habib Nurmagomedov versus Dustin Poirier. 39% said Whitaker and Adesanya, which is what I said. Again, if it's in a stadium, I think it'll be epic for that part of the world. 17% agreed with Alyse and I, because I also said if it's not in a stadium, Cormier and Miocic. Not much love for Edgar versus Holloway, only 4% for them. So thank you to the votes that came in from Junkie Nation, the readers of the site, and the listeners of the show. And thank you, too, for stopping by the MMA Junkie Radio studio. Good luck with the rest of your camp. Good luck in August at your fight, and hopefully we see you in the UFC soon in that atomweight division.
Thank you.
All right. And Jens, you know how we feel, man.
Yep, love you guys.
You should be in that ceremony coming up here in about half an hour. But
they got a ceremony.
I
didn't know such things.
Yeah, but obviously, if it didn't happen this year, it's just a matter of time. You're definitely a Hall of Famer, and a lot of people.
Here's the deal, and if I may, once is thank you all, everyone out there that's even just the mentioning of my name, that means a lot. I appreciate it, and it's, people always ask the question, what is it? Again, my manager, my agent, Brian Butler, he's both, so I just call him both. But my manager, Butler, I can't thank him enough for wanting to push this. And he knows how uncomfortable I get about it because, I don't want to be self-promoting. I don't think that's so. I've really tried to stay away from it. But everybody has come through and done so much and gotten behind it that I'm flattered. I'm humbled, and it's an amazing thing. Thank you all so much. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I do appreciate everybody and what you do, for bringing it up every year. It's pretty cool. I just hope if it does happen, I don't go in at the same time as like a piece of the octagon or something. Like it's like we got nothing left. We got half a cage and throw Jens in there, shit.
No, man, it's not going to go down like that. You'll see. It'll be a beautiful ceremony, and we'll be there. Yeah. So
I promise you this, I will cry. That's a guarantee.
I'll probably cry, too. So there you go. All right, folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk to UFC bantamweight Cody Stamann. And remember, Jorge Masvidal is also stopping by the studio, so it's going to be a fun show. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Put excellence and excitement in your Vitamix. Add ice, and you get MMA Junkie Radio.
Tonight at 9:30 Eastern, Zion Williamson makes his debut for the New Orleans Pelicans when he leads them against his former college teammate R.J. Barrett and the New York Knicks. Listen to all of the Summer League action on NBA Radio, Series 207 XM86, and streaming on your phone and at home on Sirius XM connected devices and speakers. Joining us now in the studio, he's back, Cody Stamann, UFC bantamweight. What's up, Cody?
What's up, man?
Good
How
to
are
see you again.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, I like that you make time for us every time you pop into Sin City.
Hey,
at least you're not out there losing money, right?
No, I didn't gamble, but I did lose a lot of money. I brought my girlfriend with me. That was a terrible idea.
Oh man! Wow, that's a ballsy accusation there.
Maybe she's not listening.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, she's probably on the Instagram or something like that.
She's
Okay.
not, she didn't hear that.
So, by the way, what do you gamble when you do gamble?
I just play roulette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your numbers?
Strategy?
Well, you get a strategy or what?
I don't know. I usually wait for it to, hit one color like a bunch of times in a row.
And you go the
then
other way?
Then I start betting, and then once the money, I'll bet $20, and as soon as it's gone, it's gone.
Do you have a good strategy, George?
Well, Command Sergeant Major Vidal gave me these numbers, and so far it's been all right. But
you've been doing it still?
Yeah, I've been doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't do it too often. I'll write it down for you so you can check it out, and it's cool. He said it came up. Some MIT guys, those real smart people, just had some sort of a system. But I looked at it, and it didn't look like anything that makes sense mathematically, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But since I haven't lost, who am I to complain?
I guess it's always a game of chance.
Trust me, man, this city is smart.
Yeah, no shit.
They don't make up games for us to win.
So
you got to go in there, and if you win, you go, thank you, I am out.
Exactly.
Because the longer you hang on, give me another drink. Yeah, sit down. Come on, let's all sit down.
Exactly.
All of a sudden,
Why do you think the drinks are free?
Yeah, you walk out in a barrel.
Do you do the computer one or the physical one?
The physical one.
Yeah, computer's kind of weird, right?
It freaks me out. I mean, I don't know.
So, Cody, let me ask you
Screw
this.
computers.
We're talking about games that some have some strategy, but a lot of them have to do with luck. In MMA, sometimes we'll hear people say, that punch was lucky. This was lucky. Can you be lucky in MMA?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah?
Absolutely, you can be lucky. I mean, everything happens so fast. So, yeah, I think that luck actually has a lot to... Well, I wouldn't say a lot to do with it, but, you could throw the same punch 900 times and, one time you hit someone in just the right spot for whatever reason and shut their lights off. You know what I mean? I think there are definitely lucky shots in the fight game. I mean, granted, you got to put your hand where it needs to be, but timing, people you're talking about, there's a lot of intricate movements going on inside of a fight. So yeah, I mean, so to say that someone got lucky, yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever felt like you've gotten lucky? Is there ever been one? Yeah, can you give us an example?
Well, true story. I got choked out.
Look at the smile on
unconscious. I got choked. I'm debating on whether I'm going to tell you the whole story. I got choked out unconscious and actually shit my pants in a fight. Not even kidding. And the lucky story is, one, the dude didn't know he choked me out, so he let go and let me up. And two, no one knew that I crapped my pants except for me.
Wow.
And
How
you
lucky
haven't
is
told
that?
that story until now?
That's the first time I told it. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
some people don't.
How much longer did you have to fight in the fight?
I had one more round. I sat down and I told my
sat on the
cornerman, I was like,
stool?
dude, I shit my
Like
pants.
sharded or like
shit
a full log was just sitting in your underwear?
Like a little bit, but enough that it was like uncomfortable for me. I'm like, dude, can I change my shorts? And like, no, dude, you can't. No.
Wow. That's crazy.
So I fought around. I won the round too.
Wow.
There you go.
I'm a tough bastard.
When you sat down, I wasn't anticipating that kind of a story. I gotta admit, man.
Yeah, I really wasn't anticipating.
Like if you would have sat down and go, "Hey, you want to hear a crazy story?" I would have said, "Did he jump out of a plane, or
let's hear the
what did
crazy
he
story.
do?" But
that's kind of a
Did your
disgusting
opponent
crazy
figure it
story.
out? Or the referee?
Man. I don't know. I never asked him.
I don't know if we're
keeping a weird question.
I don't know if we're keeping track or a title for this, but before that story, I think Joe Duffy maybe had like the title for shit story in MMA Junkie Radio, and that was a fun one. Zach McCoskey, Joe Duffy, but theirs are like drunken nights. It wasn't a fight, man. You get number one if we're keeping track of that in our books. There you go.
I woke up getting in someone's guard. The dude was punching me in the side of the head. It's literally how I woke up, and then
Man.
I shit in my pants, and then I had to.
But
keep
you
fighting.
won.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of a rough night, but kind of not.
Yeah.
when does he lose? He's like 18-2. Honestly,
I tried.
4-1, 5-1. Sorry, 4-1 in the UFC, and this most recent fight that you were gonna have, you had to pull
yeah.
out of. Can you update us on that? Was it a serious injury or a minor injury?
No. It's I mean, it was sprain. It was a sprain. Originally, they thought I broke my scapula. Thank God that wasn't true. I had the rehab process for that as hell. So I feel like I got lucky. Obviously, having to pull out, especially in the UFC, is horrible. You know, because everything's booked 3 months out. So you spend 2 months getting ready for a fight. Well, they're like, well, you don't really have anything for you for another, you know, whatever period of time. So, you know, I'm looking at, you know, maybe probably another 2 months before I be back in there. But
are you
right
rehabbed
now,
and healthy now?
Yeah, I would say I'm, you know, 75, 80%. So I would start looking for a fight right now.
Gotcha.
100%. I've got the clearance from the doctor. I'm good to go.
So you can have a full MMA practice?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't gone live yet to like test it because God knows I've re-injured myself. You know, coming back too soon.
Well, you know, if you think about it, what's the hurry right now anyway? Because Cejudo
I literally just went through a training
also
camp.
just had an injury, and Peter Yan, who might face Aljamain Sterling, he just had an injury. So it's like that division's at a standstill.
You want to hear something weird?
And then we got Cruz. Yeah, go ahead.
Me, Peter Yan, and Aljamain Sterling were all sitting in the PI getting work done together at the same time.
Really?
Wow.
Peter Yan was chirping Aljamain in Russian,
man.
not making a.
All right, where were you guys
When was
sitting?
that? Yeah, when was that? Today?
That was 2 days ago.
Was it getting like?
Was it weird? No,
tension
Sterling
in the air,
and I. We fought. We're not. You know,
Man.
I don't think we're ever.
No, but in other words, did anybody go? You better get security up here or nothing like that?
No.
Okay.
Have you seen the movie Eastern Promises? That
Oh,
sauna
man.
scene? Did it didn't turn into that? Or anything?
I feel like that.
Viggo Mortensen.
That's one of the.
That was
only-
a long scene that he.
Just because everyone respects everyone at the PI so much.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like that's like really the only place where 3 people that potentially, you know, two people that did fight each other, but you know, potential fights. People just sitting there. Everyone's just kind of being cool and kind of making like little smart ass.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Crazy.
Because if you think about it, if you put the danger of those employees there that are there to work on you, and man, that could have some serious consequences. So I'm glad you guys kept the
the people that work there. I mean, they take really good care of us. So it'd be a real asshole move to
So you and Sterling were cool, but Jan was tripping at Sterling.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Who came in first? Let's break it down a little bit. Like who was the first one?
When I got there, those two were there already.
They were already
there. John back and forth. And I just walked in and I was like, oh hell yes.
If you were doing the schedule, you would have figured it out, right? You would have went, wait a minute, we got to get a buffer or something, right?
Awesome. I just literally think that they just know that no one's going to do shit because of, I don't know. I guess if you got the right person. But I've seen a lot of people there that,
well, who would have thought Khabib
Mike
would have jumped
Chiesa
over?
And Kevin Lee were there at the same time.
Yeah, they've
together.
Yeah, okay. Was it cool or?
No one said anything.
I think either Kevin or Michael said like they would just flip each other off as they're walking by each other or something.
The UFC Apex, the new little place they got, apparently they're going to have training there so that they can start to do that a little bit. Start to separate camps or different parties that
makes sense.
There might be tension.
That makes sense.
So, but yeah, wow.
And they couldn't make another PI though. That place is insane.
You're spending time here because of International Fight Week, or was it to come to the PI and rehab?
Mainly because of the PI.
Okay.
Because I wanted to go there. But I'm actually leaving tonight. I leave tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for
get out of here before the weekend.
Making some room for us. You're not gonna stick around for the fights?
No, I was at fights last weekend. I thought about it, but we kind of booked this trip last minute. I was like, you know what? It'd be good to be here. You know what I mean? Try to make some money while I'm here. And
Did you ever feel like just walking down the hallway and like, oh wow, there's Sean Shelby's office. Let me just stumble in there and maybe get my own fighter.
Hey Sean, what's up, man?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why we have managers, because Sean doesn't want to talk to us. Or maybe he does. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think he does?
Oh, hell yeah. I don't think it would hurt if you just went in there and got the ball rolling. If you're looking to like start booking the fight now. And by the way, who do you want when you come back?
I don't know. I fight anyone in the top 10, top 15. I don't really care. I mean, honestly,
Well, you're a 4-1 fighter in the UFC. That is a good record. You're 18-2 overall. Me personally, I would want you to call a shot. You deserve it.
I wanted to fight a Sunsao, but he's
there. You go. That's a name.
He's fighting Sandhagen, Corey Sandhagen.
Then again, he's fighting Sandhagen. Let's pick another name.
Yeah, I literally. give me a list of the guys in the top.
All right,
10.
let's do that. Go ahead, Goes and Dan, if you guys have something, go ahead and give it to Cody Stamann right now, and I will look up the UFC bantamweight division.
Do you got something, Dan?
I was going to ask you, kind of off your first question, talk about luck. I was going to say some of it's perspective, and I was going to tie it into a former opponent. Maybe not what we're talking about now because you already beat him, but Alejandro Perez, like that's a guy he's fighting this weekend, and he's kind of a weird guy where like I feel like you can tell me here he seems like he's deceptively tough in there, but his record, like, it's really good. It's not talked about, but I don't know if he won a lot of those fights. What was your experience like in that fight with him, and maybe even breaking him down?
I've watched a couple of those fights, and I was like kind of questioning whether he won or not. He does just barely enough to win a round. Yeah. He's really good at edging guys out, and he's competitive, but it makes for a really boring fight. Like when I was fighting him, I could tell that he was trying to do. I don't know. He didn't want to engage, and then he
kept lighting him up with that check left hook, though. So
yeah, but he would never be there for like we were never gonna get into a firefight. You know what I mean? Because every time I would go to engage, he backed up, he'd back up, and then he kind of like bait you in. That's kind of his thing. He like baits you in, and then as soon as you kind of let off the pedal, that's when he jumps on you, and that's he's really, really smart. He is really smart, and he's crazy strong. And he is crazy weird. Maybe the weirdest dude I ever fought. Weirdest shit.
What makes you say that?
Just a lot of the antics before the fight. He really threw me off.
Oh wow. Okay.
Like after we got off stage, we did the stare off. I got off stage and I like just go through the curtains and he's just standing there, like
waiting
all
for you,
peacocked up, just flexing hard, just standing there. And I looked at him. I was like, dude, get the fuck out of my way, dude. I'm fighting you tomorrow. I was like, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? And he's just, and I don't think he speaks good English. And he said something to me, and I just looked at him. And I was like, you're fucking weird, man. And like I walked around him, and then I don't think he knew what I was saying, but he knew fucking. And then he like got and he like started cussing at me, and like the guys in the UFC are like they were all kind of dumbfounded, like, dude, what the fuck? You didn't do anything on stage, and now you're gonna start getting tough in the back? Like this, you're doing this all wrong. This is completely backwards. And most guys are doing the other thing, like. You see guys on the other side, like guys standing next to each other, and as soon as they go on the other side of the curtain, they're like acting like they want to kill each other. You know what I mean? Like he was just the opposite.
Wow. So how did it end? You guys went separate ways?
I beat him in the fight.
No, I know that, but that little skirmish.
No, the UFC guy like kind of was all upset with him and like made him like I don't know go sit in the stands and cool off.
Wow. There's some good backstage stories there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got it, Cody Stamann. Right. You ready?
Yep.
You and Rob Font were already supposed to fight.
Yeah.
So why not say, look,
we'll fight.
That was my bad dog that I didn't get there, but I will be ready for October 18th, and I will go to Boston, Massachusetts, to your hometown. Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't there?
I didn't go into full wrestling promo.
Detroit card. At the same time.
I haven't seen a Detroit one. No, I have heard that rumor though. I have heard that rumor that they might be going to Detroit, but there's nothing official yet.
So he's got Boston.
Boston's on the 18th. Can you be ready by October 18th, or is that too soon?
Yeah. I'd be ready by.
I mean, that's if you wanted to preserve that name. I also got Rivera for you, and I also got
Jimmy. I guess.
No, I just had it right here.
Rough go.
Pedro,
yeah.
That'd be fun.
Guy.
Now, technically, you're coming off a win. Sometimes the matchmakers will go coming off a win versus coming off a win, but those are both big names. He's out for 2 years.
Oh man, how's he ranked 6th?
Well, he's slowly gonna fall downward. The champ is number 1. Moraes is number 2. Assunção, yeah, and then he's slowly dropping because he's gonna be gone for 2 years. So
how do they do it? You think they're gonna do Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan for interim title?
I had to bet it, yeah.
Apparently,
Jan's not going to be out that long, so I think they will do it. Because Cejudo's out for the whole year, and then Cejudo's talking about possibly
100%.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. I think that those guys will fight at the end of this year. Aljamain and Peter Yan. They should be good. They should both be healthy in 2 months. We'll say that. I bet they fight at the end of the year.
All right. What have you heard about Detroit?
I heard there is going to be end of the year. They're going to have a card there. So I want to fight.
Or a fight night?
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be a fight night.
All right, we don't want to get anyone in trouble. Let's take a quick break. Let's do that real fast. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 156. We have Cody Stamann here in the house. We'll keep talking about his next possible fight. Let's explore this.
Both iPhone and Android carry a feature to make their show more enjoyable. It's called the mute button. Here are those two numbnuts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, folks, a couple quick reminders. For one, Goes and I will be doing a watch-along for tomorrow's UFC 239 card. It starts at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. Probably get in here a little bit early so we can watch a couple prelim fights. But basically, we'll be watching the fights along with you all. So go to sportscaster.com/MMA Junkie. Also, our fight analyst, Dan Tom, check out his podcast, the Protect Your Neck podcast on iTunes. Leave him a comment. Give him those 5 stars. He deserves it. He busts his butt. Hey, by the way, Dan, how was Jens Pulver's fight analyst skills?
Oh, Jens Pulver
seemed like he had some pretty good stuff, right?
I'm biased. I love Jens Pulver, man. He can do anything. I'm a fan. But no, he's great. I always love him as a commentator too. I always cite him when people talk about Paul Felder. They're very different styles and people, but kind of similar because they don't just have the experience, which obviously is great, but they've got that kind of everyman feel to them, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. So Dan's the one's been doing a lot of the breakdowns for us, and he's got a podcast where he's got everything going on there, and he's our leader in the MMA staff picks.
I am?
Aren't you?
No, well,
someone took you over?
That
thing will settle out.
Yeah. I would say he's the leader.
He's the leader.
Guys.
Yeah,
You're too kind.
All right. By the way, did anyone take Thiago Silva? Matt Erickson took Thiago Silva. The rest
he
of
likes
us
to
took
do that.
John Jones.
I did that
Everyone's taking Amanda Nunes. Oh, you switched to Thiago?
I switched to. I'll stand out. I'm the only one that didn't pick one guy. There's like everybody picking one fighter.
There's 2 for Holly Holm. Who do you got, Cody Stamann, in the main event and the co-main event?
Jones and Nunes.
Do the challengers have a shot?
No.
No.
I don't think
Rough
so.
odds and standards book.
How about Askren versus Masvidal?
I think Masvidal's gonna beat the shit out of him.
Wow.
I really thought Robbie Lawler was too. I mean, Ben Askren keeps surprising.
I think it's fair to say he was. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, the Masvidal.
Did he get choked out?
Is more split
was
up.
He choked out. Was he out?
Well, look,
I was telling people like, when would you ever in a choke go like this?
Right.
With your hand, ever. And I've seen guys get choked out and come back that fast.
Exactly.
In practice, I've seen it more than one time.
Yeah. I was just having a conversation with this. Go ahead and finish.
I've seen guys literally go limp, hit the mat, and pop up like nothing happened. Like what? And then looking around like what happened? You know what I mean? Like you come back crazy fast. I don't think it's that. That's
I was having a conversation either with Robin Black or Duke Rufus. Remember I told you I ran into those guys?
Right, yeah.
We were talking about this, and the Gracie breakdown that the Hiron does with Henner, they got really, really into it and technical, and they said the same thing you did. You know, that basically you can go in and out really, really quick. But that arm, first of all, if you look at it from the referee's point of view, and what he's seeing, he's not wrong really in splitting that up, and Herb took a lot of flack for that. You know what I mean?
I don't know why.
The communication was that the arm went down. You know, it's tough to get in the perfect position for that. So even if you disagree with him, you can't go, he's an idiot. You know what I mean? But in the way they broke it down, they were like, hey, man, that choke's been successful before, and they pointed to a few different fights.
Yep.
And I believe
and Askren knew.
Was it Newton? You told me about Newton and
when he got there.
Miletich, right?
Newton Miletich, Raquel Pennington, Raquel Pennington, and Ashley Evans Smith. That was one too as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but you said Masvidal is who you like, and we're pretty split up with that as a panel. There's some Blachowicz, I think we're calling him now, and some Rockholds. Anyway, it's all there on the front page, folks. If you want to check it out.
Let me interject for a second. So we talked about those 3 fights. If you could only watch one, which would it be? Because I'd want to see Masvidal and Askren.
Yeah, Masvidal.
It's not the main event, but I think it's like the people's main event.
100%. I literally, that's the exact same I thought. Same thing I thought. I don't know. I'm just intrigued, and I think I need to start like taking like Ben Askren's marketing campaign, dude. That guy he never stops talking. Like he's everywhere, man. He really is.
Yeah, he's always got an
awesome.
opinion. Yeah,
he is about everything. About absolutely everything, and everyone loves or hates him. And that's exactly what we need to do as athletes. And I'm really, really bad at that because I'm in a complete asshole. Like if you know where I mean, ask these guys.
Is that true? He's a complete asshole?
Well, I'm just a really big smart ass. Right? I'm very, very witty. Yeah.
And then who's this gentleman right here?
Devin Smith. He's my jiu-jitsu coach.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. He came out. It was his birthday yesterday. I was setting up tail for him all night.
Or your birthday?
All night. No, his birthday. Setting up tail for him all night, and he's
got the Razor Ramon thing going there with the toothpick too.
Just dropping the ball.
Just setting him up over and over.
Oh, dude. I was just like, here you go, Devin. And, I blew it. I was like, okay, next one. At the end of the night, I was like, all right, buddy, just listen. This isn't happening for you. Just go to bed.
All right. Anyway, let me finish up something. So Dan's got his podcast. Check it out. And Dan, do you have any picks you want to share with us from, in the prelims maybe that? Well, obviously everyone can see our main event staff picks here, but
only one idiot in answer to Goze's question. Only one idiot picked Diego Sanchez of our whole staff. I don't know who that joker was, but that was me. Oh wait, yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
You think he's gonna win?
Oh, okay.
No one.
You want to follow up on that to tell us what you saw?
It's tough, man. Wait
a minute, I read about that. Right, I'll let you tell it, but I think you had some interesting data that came from.
I don't know about data, but or anything like that. But it's simple. Matches make fights. It's like, oh well, easy to fade Diego Sanchez. Like he's another guy kind of like Alejandro Perez. Even when he was on this crazy losing streak, you could argue that losing streak was even bigger than it was. He's gifted a lot of decisions. Judges love forward pressure, even if you're not swinging and you're missing, you're not being effective. It's something unfortunate, especially for the smarter counter fighters out there that do the technical stuff. You wish the judges could see what's going on. Mm-hmm. Not always the case. And Chiesa, as much as he's improved, and I want to think he's improved more of his process, traveling around, working at Syndicate and MMA, at the end of his day, his game, even when he hurts guys, on the feet, his game is clinching and grappling. And that's Diego Sanchez. And Diego Sanchez, as bad as his chin might be, they say power is the last thing to go, and I would say maybe chin and ability for wrestling because of the knees and the back, my little canary in the coal mine, why you see older fighters not necessarily wrestler, maybe those things will go. But as far as grappling purely ability, I have a hard time thinking that goes first. I think that goes more toward last. And Diego Sanchez has never been submitted. Saulo Ribeiro, black belt, arguably maybe not a better wrestler, but a better maybe MMA scrambler than Michael Chiesa. As good as Anthony Pettis and Carlos Condit are, they're jiu-jitsu guys, they're actually able to win some scrambles, get their head on the inside position, spin Chiesa to the fence, and those fights were really recently. One of them was against the improved welterweight Chiesa. So if he's giving just those little spaces, I just think it's a long night against a guy like Diego, and Chiesa has zero knockouts on his record. Even when he gets in positions where he can ground and pound, he's more like a Maya in the sense he's going to look for submissions. So unless he completely changes his style and
Diego's never been submitted, right?
Yeah, unless he completely changes his style and fights the perfect fight, then I'm not sure how he wins this, because we've seen guys who can't knock Diego Sanchez out but win the perfect fight, like a Martin Kampmann, and still freaking lose. So you're going to put plus 300 in those crazy odds. Even if I was picking Chiesa, I would still tell people to stay away from it from a bet-wise. The value's on Sanchez.
Yeah,
so.
I would never bet against someone that has the conditioning and heart that Diego Sanchez does, because you just don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could literally gas yourself out trying to kill the guy, and he just comes back, and you know what I mean? He's won a lot of fights like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's getting his ass beat and then comes back and wins, and you're like, how did he do that? He's not as good as this guy.
I'm not confident, but if you're just looking at dogs that stand out, that's just a really high number for a matchup that I think is a bit closer than that. So
okay, good stuff. All right. We are going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. So you're hopping on a plane and going home, but you want the world to know that you're ready to take a fight booking, and you're warm to any of those names in the top 10.
Let's go.
You're saying Detroit would be nice, but you're willing to.
We'll see.
Make it happen wherever it needs to happen.
First available. I already spent 2 months getting ready for a fight. So I've never had that experience where I did everything to prepare for a fight and got my weight where it needed to be, had all the sacrifices, and then didn't get an opportunity to fight. That sucked. So I'm chomping at the bit a bit, you know what I mean? I want to get back in there and get my hands on somebody, whether it's fine, whether it's, who cares?
How did the injury happen? Just normal training?
Just normal training. It was just end of the practice, just fell on my shoulder funny.
Okay.
That was all, and like I said.
Wasn't like the Detroit Tigers asked you to come out and throw out a first pitch or nothing like that? Nothing random?
No, nothing like that. Thank God. Thank God.
You ever done that?
Training. I'm actually doing it. That reminds me, I need to make a video for that. I'm doing it July 11th, yeah.
For the Detroit Tigers?
Not for the Tigers. I'm doing it for a minor league team that's affiliated with the Tigers, and then I'll do it with the Tigers later.
Cool.
July 11th.
July 11th.
And you're going to film it and post it?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
You going to practice or just wing it?
I used to play baseball.
Oh, okay.
But, I have a screwed up shoulder, so I'm going to be throwing it like this. Try to throw it with my right hand.
But, were you a pitcher or?
I pitched when in Little League.
That's 60 feet or 45. This is 90.
Yeah, it's true.
Or wait. No, it's 60 in the row. It's 90 between the bases.
Throw it a little higher. Nah, I think I'll be all right. I'm pretty athletic. I feel like I could throw the ball over there.
They say throw it high, don't throw it low.
Throw it high?
Yeah.
I would much rather throw it over him than under him.
Right.
I feel like if you throw it under him, you're just like...
Who are the all-time worst
like a punk.
MMA fighters?
Frank Trigg.
And who else?
Did Tim Sylvia hit the mark?
I can't remember.
There's been some pretty bad ones.
I thought when Henry Cejudo did it, somebody said, "Don't be like," and they threw out a name. Woodley. No, somebody was pretty bad, and they're still a fighter, and they're a big name fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, they didn't do a good job.
I'm just literally, you guys getting me all hopped up. I'm literally gonna throw it over him, way over him. Just throw it as far as I can. Like, what's up?
Do your thing. All right, that's Cody Stamann. Fights for the UFC in the bantamweight division. He'll be getting a fight booking. Hopefully this fall. He's one of the best. 18-2 overall, 4-1 in the UFC. I want to thank all of our guests for this week, including Michael Chiesa, Jan Blachowicz, Aljamain Sterling, Martin Lewandowski, Jorge Masvidal, Diego Sanchez, Donald Cerrone, Rose Gracie, Brian Butler, Jens Pulver, Alyse Anderson, and Cody Stamann. All right, folks, keep it locked on MMA Junkie throughout the weekend. We'll see you all on Monday. Enjoy the fights. Go out there and be a champion.